It's really crazy that in the 25 years of the Pokemon franchise, for whatever reason, this opening hasn't really changed. You got some boomer welcoming you to the world of Pokemon like you were just born into it. Listen, Gramps, we've been living in the world of Pokemon since 1996, okay? We know what to expect. But here on the internet in the last few years, there's been a divide between recent Pokemon fans and the veteran gamers. The youngins can't understand why older fans can't get over their low-poly games and just enjoy the newer entries, while all the golden oldies are telling the kids to get out of their lawn while contemplating leaving the franchise altogether. And believe it or not, this divide actually plays into the very core of what Pokemon is about. How do the changes in Pokemon throughout the years reflect the heart of the pocket monsters? I'm the guidance guy, and your internet school counselor is about to bridge the generational gap. I'ma say this from the jump, this video is gonna be a little different. Instead of looking at a character or story from a franchise, we're going to be analyzing a franchise and its fan base. Now, I'm not going to be hating on anyone or anything like that, and I promise that if you stick with me to the end, there will be a guidance connection to all of this, so hang with me. But anyway, look guys, this is the internet. We all know how it works around here. This place thrives on conflict. And for us gamers, conflict is literally part of the game. And I'm not just talking about the games themselves or online battles. Call of Duty versus Battlefield, Street Fighter versus Tekken, PlayStation versus Xbox, versus Nintendo whenever people decide that it's actually part of the conversation. The gaming sphere runs on this us versus them dynamic, and when it comes to Pokemon, it boils down to old school versus new school. You know how it goes. The Gen 1ers go on and on about how the newer games are too easy, and that there are too many Pokemon, and the new ones are lazily designed, and on they go. And full disclosure, I found myself saying similar things from time to time.
The anime is one thing, but you can't beat a Pokemon game with an unevolved Pikachu on your team. Actually, no, maybe you can in a modern Pokemon game, seeing how easy they've been making them these days.
So yeah, guilty as charged. And all that criticism leaves the younger fans left to defend their childhood. And it doesn't really have to be this way, because the generations, despite all the aesthetic and mechanical differences, have been true to the ideals of Pokemon the whole time. And we're going to start with one of the most obvious themes of the franchise: growth. From the moment that you got your very first Pokemon, whether it was Chespin or Torchic, Scorbunny, or the OG Squirtle, you knew that the Pokemon you were looking at, this creature that would be with you on your journey, wouldn't stay in that form forever. You knew that there were two more stages of evolution for that little guy to go through. First was the awkward teenage stage that, let's be real, only a handful of these starters wear well. But then came the reason why some of us picked our starter in the first place: that fully evolved form. Blastoise, Rillaboom, Feraligatr, Samurott, Blaziken, son! Don't get me started, I'm about to break into freestyle Poke Rap right now. But that's the reward right there, for all the battles, all the grinding, all the trips to the Pokemon Center. The growth of our Pokemon is a metaphor for our own growth as trainers, that we're not satisfied with a bunch of Zigzagoons and Hoothoots in our party, unless you're doing an unevolved challenge, in which case, more power to you. But that's not the only sign of improvement. The change can be seen in the player as well. In all generations, we see our character go from town to town, challenging trainers, taking on gym leaders, and as we do so, we get smart about matchups. We build up our team and our strategies. We collect those badges as proof of our come up, and that has always been true of Pokemon. Even that one time where they tried to change up the gym challenges and it was a thing that happened. Like any great RPG, when you take on a role, you're not supposed to end the game where you started. And it doesn't matter which game was your first. Pokemon has stayed true to that ideal from day one. You start your quest as a wide-eyed 10-year-old with a level 5 Pokemon, scratching and tackling your way through the Rattatas and Rookie-Ds along the way. But you end up a world-saving, legend-taming, undisputed champion of the Pokemon world. But it doesn't end there. We also see the theme of adventure play itself out throughout the years of Pokemon as well. Look, I know this one is going to be easy to clown on in regards to the newer games. I mean, it's hard to say that Gen 8 is a pioneer for adventure and exploration when the entire region of Galar looks like a straight line. You can literally see point A and point B. Where's the adventure in that? And I'll tell you, that's a legit point. As Pokemon has gone on, the games have become more, let's say, accessible. These days it's almost impossible to get lost in the games or not know how to take on a challenge. But there's a factor in this development that often gets ignored in the discussion: the trends of the other games of a given era. For us Poke fans that grew up on the older games, what were some of the other games you played? What games were out during the time you had your first Pokemon game? For me, during the red, blue, and yellow era, we were at the start of the 5th generation of games. By 96, we had our console partner choices of the Nintendo 64, the first PlayStation, and the Sega Saturn. Yes, there were also the 3DO and Atari Jaguar for you gaming historians, but nobody had them, so they don't count. And what games were out there for those consoles? Final Fantasy VII, Super Mario 64, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and the legendary Ocarina of Time. And for those who were playing those games for the first time, they didn't really take a lot of time to teach you how to play. There may have been a little space at the beginning where you can experiment and figure things out, but you spent most of your time not learning the game, but playing the game. No drawn out tutorials, no stoppage in the action. If you want to go back even further, a lot of the older games grew up on the 8-bit classics like Legend of Zelda. And this game didn't wait for nobody to learn it. It threw you in there and said, you figure it out. Unless you had a guide or one of those friends who just knew all the secrets about all the games, you were gonna have problems. But that was back then. What about now? Well, just look around. We have full games on our phone that demand just as much of your time as the big bricks. Many more types of people play games now, and some are really looking for a more relaxing, chill adventure as opposed to a sprawling epic. And let's be real here, attention spans just ain't what they used to be. Don't challenge me on this. I see this every day at school. Some of us have been conditioned to need some sort of stimulation seemingly at all times. And this point is at the base of one of the biggest points of contention in the Pokemon fanbase. The older fans who've grown up on learning the game as they go, practicing trial and error, and failing before you succeed, goes against the more supportive and forgiving nature of modern games. But what if I told you that the adventure that Pokemon sold itself on was still there? All the wonder and thrill of the unknown can still be found in that house that Pikachu built. It's true, it's all still there. The only thing is that you may need to look for it in different places. Example, I know all of you who've played Gen 2 Pokemon know who the most notorious gym Pokemon is in that game. Whitney's rollin', heartbreaking powerhouse, Miltank. To those who have never experienced this heifer, the stories are all true. Whitney's prized cattle was our welcome to the game moment, when we knew that we needed to get our act together if we were going to win. The different strategies used, the Pokemon we used to take that mother down, it not only connects to the theme of growth, but that sense of tension, the desire to see beyond that milky menace. Now, the common complaint we hear is, there ain't no Pokemon like Miltank no more. And that's true. I mean, look back at Sword and Shield. Are there any Pokemon that were especially difficult to beat? Frankly, I remember the personalities of the gym leaders like Raihan and Piers more than their Pokemon. That isn't a bad thing per se, but definitely something of a letdown for some. However, how many of you younger fans remember your first shiny hunt? Or all the hours it took you to breed the perfect Pokemon with all the right stats, abilities, and natures? The experience of going off the beaten path and finding someone that enriches your experience is still there in Pokemon. It's just in different places these days. The games may not be making you wonder what's off there beyond the horizon, but it could be inviting you to find yourself an elusive shiny legendary, or go super hardcore and do a Nuzlocke run if you want a gut-wrenching challenge. And again, this is something that has been a part of the series from the start, entering a new world full of these mysterious creatures, catching and training them as companions and comrades. It's all still there, but for some, the journey may have a different look than the way it used to back in the day. So I saved the best for last. The tenet of Pokemon that has been used as the strongest case for this game, the vision that the creators have used since the beginning, and is even a goal at Pokemon Corporate: building relationships. Whenever you hear about the values of Pokemon, it's not long before you hear the importance of bringing people together, of forming and nurturing friendships from all over the world. That sounds great, an amazing ideal for any game really. But if Pokemon had realized this goal 100%, then this video wouldn't exist. Not that it's Pokemon's fault though, it can't control how people react to the franchise over time. Yet we've seen their actions cause some longtime fans to consider breaking some relationships, not specifically to other gamers, but to Pokemon itself. For the reasons that we've discussed and more, these old heads are disillusioned by the direction that the games are going. They look back on the good old days and see not just better times, but better games. They see the changes in more recent entries and see gimmicks, Pokemon designs that are not as inspired as the ones that they remember. And since this is all subjective, I'm not here to try to prove those people wrong. If that's your opinion, then that's cool. What I want to do is to show the other side of that, to show where Game Freak's crown jewel accomplishes its goal. And for this one, we can easily start with ourselves. How many of us have friends as a direct result of this game? Those of us who've completed the Pokédex, who are the people who you had to trade with in order to make that happen? How many of your greatest battles came from taking on someone online? And since this is Pokemon, we don't have to limit ourselves to the games. We're talking about a mass media franchise here. For example, the craze for Pokemon cards never really died. To this day, I still see students trade and show off their collection to their friends. Or what about the fanbase for the anime? Sure, it's not the ratings magnet it used to be, but you notice that people really paid attention when they changed Ash's design a few years ago. And do we really need to bring up Pokemon Go? Sure, in our pandemic-conscious world, walking around random places with random people now sounds a little dicey, but I've seen whole families go into raid battles together. Discord members meeting up in their cities with the common goal to catch them all. And there have even been articles showing that Pokemon Go has helped people overcome social anxiety, inspire them to get into shape and stay active, as well as creating connections with people that they otherwise wouldn't have made. That all sounds like building relationships to me. And as the technology has evolved, so has the franchise. Yeah, not every change or development is going to be welcomed with open arms, and that's natural. But I truly believe that Game Freak has put every effort into bringing people together as a direct result of interacting with the characters in the world of Pokemon. And it's that desire, perhaps more than anything else, that has endured throughout the last 25 years. So what's my point here? Where am I going with all of this, and where's the guidance connection? Hey, I said if you stuck with me to the end, you'd find out. So now it's time. The tale of the two fan bases is not about one side being right and the other being wrong. At its core, it's a story of perspective. Younger Pokemon fans have the perspective of the franchise of deeply enjoying the experience being given to them and embracing it without reservations. And on the other hand, the older fans have been around and are naturally going to be more critical of the franchise and are going to put on expectations that others wouldn't, because they see the potential of Pokemon that others don't. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is all good actually, and can be seen in other fan bases as well. But here's the thing about perspective. It needs to be objective. My Pokemon old heads, we can't be hailing the old games as the peak of all gaming when we all know that things like the power balance in Gen 1 was a joke. And we've all seen the internet call out Sword and Shield's high quality animations. Nothing is perfect, and criticism, when made in good faith, should always be welcome in the discourse. But we can't be so entrenched in what we're used to and the way that things used to be that we don't allow ourselves to even try to listen to other points of view. At that point, you're no better than a boomer. And we can all agree that no one wants that label. So as we go through our world of Pokemon, other fandoms, or just life in general, let's not forget that everyone has their perspective. And it doesn't hurt to try to see and understand where they're coming from. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and if you have any stories or characters that you'd want me to look into. And of course, do the YouTube thing. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Until next time.